Hi guys, welcome to Mr. CRB. I'm Chris. Today I'm going to be talking about the Honda MSX125, also known as the Grom. Now, the reason I'm talking about this bike is because I happen to have one. And as you know, I love machines in all types. I like cars, I like bikes, I like yachts, I like helicopters. And it's really just a mixture of the engineering behind it, just how amazing it is that these things are created so well by humans and just the way that we're able to create these things. But also, I like performance, I like speed, and I just like to look at cool things. So, what we're going to talk about today is something which is no exception to that, which is the MSX. Now, I'll tell you the story on how I got one. So this one is a 2014 model, and the reason I ended up getting one actually was I was walking around one day in town in Edinburgh, and I seen one parked in George Street, and I remember walking past it a few times, and I thought that is a really cool bike. What is it? Took a couple of pictures of it, and I just couldn't find out what it was. But this one had stickers all over it, and it had stunt pegs on it and stuff. But it was actually the same color as it, so it was the blue with the gold wheels and still couldn't find out what it was. And then someone went past me one day on one, and I just stopped them literally. They were at the lights, and I just sort of waved at them and said, "What is that bike?" And they told me, and I went out and I managed to get hold of one, and I've got this one. Now, this one is absolutely mint condition. It's done about 200 miles. Hardly used it since I got it, and it's something that actually the reason I've not used it isn't because I don't like driving it. It's because basically, I drove it for like in the summer just for like going for coffees with friends and stuff like that. And then COVID came and my CBT expired, and it became impossible to redo a CBT. So in the UK, you get a CBT and it lasts a certain amount of time, then it expires. I actually was going to go for the full bike license just before COVID, so I'd done the theory and I was going to go for the whole thing, and then it just got messed up, couldn't do it, and then yeah, and I've not driven it since then. So it's sitting here with no petrol in it. It's got no batteries taken out and all that sort of stuff. But if I was to start driving it again, it wouldn't take long. And I am actually going to do the full bike license soon. So the plan is to get that booked in, go for it. I've had shots on the larger bikes, really enjoy it. I've actually done motocross and have motocross bikes, love them as well. So not a stranger to it. But basically, that's the story of how I ended up getting a Honda MSX125. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about the looks because that's the first thing that everyone notices when you're on one. Like even when I'm walking around town and I see a Grom now, I look twice at it, and that's after I've got one. There's always something about seeing a Grom for the first time, because they come in different colors, and obviously you see them in different locations. You might see one in a sort of motorcycle shop, which is actually what happened to me last week. Or you might just see one driving past you when you're in the car. And for me, it always gets my attention. Now, that's the one thing that when you're driving a Grom, you will notice people will come up to you and they'll ask you what it is, and it's basically how they're going to find one themselves, probably, because that's what I did. But you will get a lot of attention, especially from like kids who see it and they think, "Oh, that's really cool," when they come up and they want to ask you questions about it and stuff. Now, this one's completely standard, as standard from the shop, but some people put like different things on it. Like as I said, stump pegs. They put like racing exhausts on it and all sorts of things. They put sort of motocross handlebars on it, and they can make it look really cool. I've not done any of that with this one. But if you see some of them, they look way cooler than this one. I just love the color of this one with the blue and the gold. Apparently, they've not done it since 2014. I don't know how accurate that is, but I was in a Honda shop last week and I was told that this one's actually something that a lot of people want to get hold of, but they haven't redone it since then, and it's a popular bike. So effectively, if you've got one, people are going to notice it. It's going to stand out. You're going to get attention. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. If you're in a hurry to get somewhere and you've got people coming up and asking you about your bike, and you're trying to get the bike gear on and stuff, sometimes that can hold you back. You might be late if you've got a couple of meetings or something like that. Now, next thing is performance. Now, I'm going to look at performance and break that down. Let's look at efficiency, look at speed, and look at what it's like to run. Okay. In terms of efficiency, it's phenomenal. If I fill this up with petrol, you would. I can't even remember how many times I went to the station, but to top up would be, it would probably last you a couple of weeks. Considering, I mean, depending on how often you drive it, but for me, it lasted. It seemed to just to go on and on. You know, very rarely I had to top it up with petrol, and a full tank was like, I don't know, £10, so like $13 or something. It wasn't expensive. That might have changed now with petrol prices going through the roof, but basically it was really cheap to run. So it was really efficient in that way. Insurance was really cheap for the year. Didn't pay much for that. In terms of um, any other costs, there wasn't really anything else. You know, the road tax was really cheap. I can't really remember anything at all expensive about having this bike. I just remember it being a fun bike that I would use when I wasn't in a hurry or when I wasn't driving somewhere. Now, let's look at the performance when you're driving it. Okay, first of all, it's great to drive. I would say it's really good acceleration. So when you're driving it, what I really liked to doing was just sort of welling it through the gears, right up to sort of 50, 60 miles an hour as fast as possible, pulling away at lights and stuff like that to get in front of traffic. It's great for that. It's great for sort of maneuvering around traffic when you're going in town or heading home quickly. Great for that. It's good at cornering. It's overall just a great little bike to drive. I would say the one thing that it doesn't really affect performance, but when you start get to above 70 miles an hour on it, or above 60 even, personally, because of I don't know what it is, maybe because it's a small bike, but I didn't feel 100% comfortable at that sort of speed. I mean, it's also dependent on the weather as well. So sometimes I'll be driving it and it'll be very windy, and if it's really windy and you're going 60 on this little bike, you will start to feel like you're going faster than that, I think. Where when you're on a sort of heavier bike, 60 can also, it feels like you're going 20 sort of thing. So that's just something I would point out. If you're looking for a bike that you're looking to go really fast on, this probably isn't the bike you want to go for. But if you're looking for a bike just for buzzing around and having a bit of fun on, this is definitely for that. It's great fun. There's absolutely no doubt in it. It's good acceleration. It's comfortable to drive, and it's just nice and fun little bike for getting around town. Now, in terms of overall owning a Grom and MSX125, you've got to look at the market. There's obviously lots of competition at that size of engine. There's so many different types of 125 you could go for, but depending on what you're looking for the bike to do, or what your goal is for the bike, is what I would use to choose what bike to go for. So, for example, if you're looking for a bike to commute every day to work, I probably wouldn't choose the Grom, and there's a few reasons for that. One of them is security, which I'll go into later, but also I think for me it's comfortable, but it's not something that I would fancy driving every single day to work and back. I would definitely want a bigger bike for that. And when I say bigger, it doesn't have to necessarily be a bigger engine, but just a bigger bike, a heavier bike, taller, something that's not quite so petite for getting around, in through traffic and stuff daily to work. So it's definitely more of a fun bike, in my opinion. And then that's when it's going to bring me to security. So the thing about the Grom is, because it gets so much attention, I personally think that it's a bike that would likely get stolen if the opportunity arose. So, for example, if you left it somewhere, it wasn't locked up properly, and people could see exactly what it was. They could see it was a Grom. I think that would be a little bit risky. Now that could just be where I live, but a lot of bikes get stolen in Scotland, and because of that, it made me a little bit paranoid. So I was always locking the bike up, or I was always covering it and things like that to try and stop people from potentially trying to steal it. So that's something I did, and I mean, it never got stolen. Clearly, it wouldn't be sitting behind me right now, but it does happen. So if you're going to commute every day on it, then you would definitely want to take into consideration how are you going to carry a big chain. Now, there's different companies that sell chains. You can get quite heavy duty ones, but to be honest, if someone's got a grinder, I believe they can get through them. There's lots of videos on YouTube. You see it cut through them in seconds. So nothing's going to stop them if they want the bike. So it's really about how comfortable you are. So if you've got a Grom and you're leaving it every day somewhere, it might get stolen. It might not. You might get lucky, but it's quite light. It's quite small. Someone could pick it up and just throw it in the back of a van and drive off, and it would probably take them a couple of minutes to do that. So that was my main reasons for not really suggesting it as a commute bike. Next up, let's talk about actually having fun on it. Now, there's a lot of communities with the Grom. There's a lot of people who are into the Grom. I've never done any of that myself, and I think that's a lot of the guys who get them, they put the new exhaust and stuff on it. I considered that because it looks like great fun. And I've been watching some of the stuff on YouTube, and it looks phenomenal when you see these guys driving around on their bikes, and I was thinking, oh, I have to get the bike like there, get the exhaust and stuff on it. But I've not done it yet. Probably never will, to be honest, because yeah, I'm probably more likely to go for a bigger bike next, and get the full license. But I see them doing it, and it looks like great fun. So it might be that you want that sort of thing. You might want to join a club, or you might just want to hang out with friends. That would be really cool if you knew several people that had them, because they do, they do stand out, and they are good fun to drive. Now, would I recommend a Grom to just anybody? I would say if it's like your first bike and you're looking for a bike to learn how to drive on, it's probably ideal. I actually got this bike off a female, so she got the bike because she wanted to learn and do a full bike test. After she'd done the bike test, she never used it again because she got a full-size bike, which is the reason the mileage is so low. And she had it sitting around for a year or two, I think it was, before I had it. So I was lucky in that respect. So it's probably a really good bike to learn to drive. If you're looking for something to get on the road, if you're a female, or if you're a bit shorter and you're looking for a bike that might be suitable, it could be great for that. But overall, I would say it's a great fun bike, less than like a hardware and commuting bike. I have seen some that have got really high mileages online that are for sale, so I'm presuming based on that people are using them as a commuting bike to rack up the sort of miles that they do. And it's interesting to see that they do actually go to a really high mileage. So they're reliable bikes, they do go for a long time. I think Honda in general is a good brand for that, and that's part of the reason I chose Honda, to be honest. So first of all, I'm going to suggest do your research, go to a local Honda dealer, ask them their advice. Maybe they'll give you some advice based on your specific requirements, how you live, what you want to do on the bike and stuff like that. And based on that information, you might want to put a plan together and choose a really good bike for your needs. I think it's always good to speak to an expert rather than sort of watching a YouTube video from people that are looking to have fun on them and then going and spending that sort of money on one. I think it's better to sort of go and speak to an expert, and they'll give you really good advice on what you should actually go for. Because if I was to buy a bike now, I wouldn't go for a Grom. Even if it was my first 125, I would go for a bike that was a bit bigger. That looked kind of more traditional, probably. Yeah, that's probably what I would go for now. But at the same time, it's a great little bike to have, and it looks cool. And it's something that a lot of people really like. So, it depends what stage you're at in life and what you're looking for. But basically, can be a great bike, can be great fun, but there's other options. So I hope that was helpful. And if you've got any questions, let me know. Subscribe to the channel. As I say, we're going to be looking at cars, we're going to be looking at boats, we're going to be looking at yachts, all these cool things, because they're great fun, and you've got to have fun in life. So follow, subscribe, and watch out for the next video.